Thank you. Well, it's been 2 years since the body of Christian Aguilar was found in Levy County. Many UF students remember him as the freshman who was murdered by a friend, but one person wants to make sure he's remembered for more than that.
Nicole Acevedo sat down with Alex Aguilar, Christian's younger brother, and learned more about the relationship as brothers before tragedy struck their family. Now, Nicole, you sat down with Alex after the search, finding his brother's body, and of course the trial at the end of the summer. How is Alex coping with this? Because I'm sure it's so traumatic in so many ways.
Exactly, Anna. Even after such a tragic loss, it's very clear that Alex has grown into a much stronger person. And after sitting down with him, it's obvious that the message that he's trying to send is just what a great person Christian really was. Christian and Alex had a very close relationship, so after a loss like this, it's hard to imagine letting that go. But Alex told me instead of letting it hold him back, he's focused on using Christian's influence in a positive way and remembering the good times. This is part one of the Alex Aguilar story.
The face of Christian Aguilar for many in the Gainesville area was the face of a missing boy. But to Alex, it was the face of his missing brother.
The way I remember him is a way very few people, if any at all, saw him. They saw the friend Chris, or Chris as a friend, as a cousin, as a student. I saw him at his worst, at his best. I knew how he was, I knew how he acted. We'd have so many similar things. I mean, we shared a bunk bed for the first 12 years of my life, at least.
After months of searching for his brother's body and an emotional trial, Alex has finally said goodbye to his older brother. But he says he still relives some of his favorite moments from their life every day.
It was like a friendly competition for everything, even the smallest of things. His sense of humor was just so, I guess, outgoing, and everybody can always laugh whatever it was he was doing. He was never an angry person. He was never really a person to cause any arguments or anything. So, but with me, he would try his best to just piss me off. And obviously, I'd try my best to piss him off too. I miss a bunch of things, even the smallest things, just him listening to music in his room, to us driving to school in the morning, to us having to share a bathroom and to get ready for school. Just those small details that you can't really experience with somebody else.
Now, Alex says he wants to use Christian's memory as motivation as he starts his first years of college at the University of Florida.
Do you think that your brother coming here before you had anything to do with your decision?
I mean, obviously, I feel like it may have influenced it. Again, I've said before, I would never admit it to anybody, because I feel like if he were here and he heard me say, I came to UF because you came to UF, he would never let me live that down.
The search, over. The trial, concluded. And an experience that will stay with his family forever.
I mean, you can have a lot of close friends, but when it comes to, in my case, a brother, I only had one. Somebody to bug you but also help you. Somebody who will probably punch you but also help you take care of the wound. So I guess that title is kind of gone.
Alex's story continues tomorrow on WUFT News at 6 as we take a closer look at the Pedro Bravo trial and the difficulties Alex faced reliving his brother's final days. You can also watch the story and read more online at WUFT.org.
Well, it's been 2 months since a jury found Pedro Bravo guilty of murdering University of Florida student Christian Aguilar. Now, one of the people closest to Christian, his younger brother Alex Aguilar, is reflecting on the time he spent in the courtroom waiting for the jury's decision. Earlier this week, we shared with you the relationship Alex had with Christian before he was killed. Tonight, WUFT's Nicole Acevedo joins us again with more on Alex's experience. Nicole, you spent time talking with Alex, talking about the search and the trial. How was it for him as Christian's younger brother to sit there and experience all this and to sit and face his brother's killer?
Leanna, Alex definitely said that it was difficult for him to sit there and listen to this trial in such detail, but I think his main concern was what the jury was going to decide and whose story they were really going to believe. It was a trial that was hard to watch for anyone, but the Aguilar family stuck it out every day and sat through a drawn-out presentation of Christian's life and exactly how prosecutors say it ended. But Alex says those images didn't faze him. He was able to keep his cool and focused on what he really wanted, justice. Tonight we share part 2 of the Alex Aguilar story.
Pain, agony, and frustration. Emotions that filled the Alachua County Courthouse in August.
Pedro Bravo.
It became home for a dramatic and emotional murder trial. But no one knows the story better than Alex Aguilar. Alex endured the loss of his brother, the draining search for his body, and the 14-day trial that finally put his brother's killer behind bars.
I guess the hardest part about it is having to sit down quietly while the defense is up there talking. And you know the defense, the attorneys, it's their job. They're not bad people. It's just that frustration that builds up while you're hearing the story and them actually trying to sell this story to the jury. We couldn't understand how they wanted to pass the story that Pedro in a way beat up Chris, left his duct tape there, and then Chris probably, I guess, stood up, walked about 60 somewhat miles, dug a hole with Pedro's shovel, buried himself, tied himself, and then walked back and had to hide the shovel in Pedro's apartment. You get me? Like, there are so many things that you're like, well, how are you gonna explain that? And truth of the matter is they never did explain it.
That fact the jury took with them into deliberations. Pedro Bravo was found guilty of the murder of Christian Aguilar and the 7 other charges along with it. A decision Alex was still trying to wrap his head around when he found himself face to face with a juror.
Once they started talking to me, I took advantage and just asked them a few questions about the actual trial, how they saw it. And they answered, I mean, my main question was just finding out how hard was it for them to deliberate and find him guilty of what charges.
The juror told him they knew what the verdict would be early on in their deliberation, but waited 3 hours before releasing their final decision.
Listening from a different perspective of how somebody saw the case, somebody as important as a juror, and knowing that they were completely convinced that all the evidence is incriminating and that in a way they couldn't really refute it.
Now, the Aguilars are trying to piece their lives back together. Alex says he had to bury his brother, but he won't ever bury his pain.
I don't fully believe in complete closure, but this has got to be a huge step for us. Obviously, even years after, we're still grieving, but it's just something, a weight off of our shoulders. It's not so much anger at him at this point, it's more just such an apathy for this person. Obviously, the actions affected my life in a way nobody can really understand. It's just such a heavy way. But him as a person, he's just pathetic. It means nothing to me.
And Leanna, after all the drama, Alex says he's happy to say that him and his family are doing really well and that they're looking on moving forward in their lives.
All right, well, thank you, Nicole. And if you would like to watch both parts of Alex's story, you can find the story online at WUFT.org. Thank you, Nicole.